Hey everyone, and welcome to Iron Horse Garage. Today we're here with Ron and his incredible 1969 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. Ron's owned this car since it was brand new, and it's got a whole lot of stories to tell.
My time in Vietnam, I had a picture out of a Playboy magazine of a Shelby, a red Shelby, and I always wanted one, a GT500. And when I completed my first tour, I come home for a 30 days leave. And one of my friends was a car salesman at Burke Huddleston Ford, downtown Nampa. And he asked me to come down and go for a drive. I went down there and we drove the car, and he said, step on it. And I did, and of course the thing squats like this and then just takes off. We got done and he says, would you like to buy it? And I says, oh, I'd love to, but I have no money. And he says, well, the military will take it out of your pay. I said, well, if they will, I'll take it, assuming that I wouldn't get the car. So the next day I come back and he saw me coming in, and he come up to me and said, Ron, it's your car. And I'm like, okay. And there was a man and woman standing over by the doorway. And they immediately rushed me and come right over to me. And they said, sir, we're from the college. For 6 months, we've been saving our money for a down payment for that car. Will you let us have it? And I said, no. And the funny part about it is, they probably would have sold it in 2 years or whatever and had a family, and the car would have been just another thing going by. But I still have it. And so that's kind of the uniqueness of the car. I was this close not to getting it. And then when I did get it, I have kept it. And it's been through some various hard times here and there, but parts and pieces, fixed. But it's been a great car. It used to be the fastest thing in this valley. I used to race cars and all my old friends, and it really used to move. But through time, we've had to change a few things out to be able to drive with the new gases, and so we've had to update hardened seats and other things like that we've had to do to it, and take the rear end out and change it out. And I think it was 391s or whatever I had in the back of that, and it didn't rev very high. But anyway, that's kind of how that all come. And so left it with my dad when I went to go back to Vietnam for my second tour. And I said, keep it running. And he stomped on it after he left me. I said, well, I think I left it in good hands. Then I come back, and it was my only car for many years. I'd take it. I'd try to pull somebody out with it. Just like anybody else's car. And so it's got a few signs that it wasn't treated very nicely. But most of its life, it was outside. Recently, I've had it in a garage. Several years ago, I went by a car show there in Nampa. And there was a Shelby there, the GT500. And I pulled into the parking lot on my way back from golf and walked around, and I went over and looked at that car. And she said, aren't you the one that's driving that green Shelby out there? And I says, yeah. She says, I went over and looked at it. You ought to put it in the car show. You'll win Sole Survivor. And I said, what's Sole Survivor? I didn't know what it was. And for years, I never would do anything with car shows because I've got marks on it where the horses chewed on it and a few things. I mean, they're not dramatic, but figured that people would ask me why I didn't paint it. And you paint it, you lose value, you don't gain it. And so I've left it as is, and I can describe every little thing on it, how it happened and where it was. So that's kind of the history of the car. Now I'm in a new era, I guess you'd say, trying to figure out what we're going to do next now.
Now, after sitting all winter, Ron took the Mustang out to a couple car shows this year, but unfortunately, things took a turn when he fired it up. Ron noticed that there was antifreeze dumping out of the exhaust. This is a major sign that something is seriously wrong with the engine. Ron actually recalls burning up a piston years ago, which required a sleeve and head repairs. To figure out what's going on, we're going to be doing a comprehensive engine diagnosis. This will involve a compression check and possibly a leak down test. We'll film the entire process so you can see exactly what's involved. What the Unfortunately, during our compression test, we found that cylinder 3 and cylinder 8 were full of coolant. At the moment, we're unsure of the root cause.
Well, since we found fluid in our cylinders, both sides of the engine, we're going to go ahead and remove the engine and pull the heads and see what's going on. To get our engine out, we're going to have to pull the hood for some clearance. I'm going to go ahead and take this silver pencil and mark the position where the hood is currently, and then that way it gives us a good reference point when we go back on with it. Okay, we'll take her towards that frame over there. Now that the heart of the beast is out, we're going to pull the heads and see what we got going on. We have quite a bit of antifreeze in the oil pan here, as you can tell. So we're going to start tearing into this 428 Cobra Jet. Start by pulling the exhaust manifolds off, and then we'll pull the heads off and intake manifold, see what we got going on inside of this baby. Yeah, there's coolant in a few of them. So far what we found here is we have fluid on both sides of the engine. You can see the darker areas here on the head gasket where it looks like the head gasket has been leaking. These are some kind of a special copper deal, and underneath is actually another layer of this head gasket. So far, we're not impressed with it. Luckily, we have a Ford big block engine specialist on hand. Let's get this over to him and let him work his magic. So it's been a couple of months. We got our 428 back for the Shelby. Let's talk to our engine builder, John, and find out what he had to do to this thing. So you said you used to put these together on the assembly line?
Well, I worked on these when I worked in a dealership when this shit was new.
Wow.
I worked at Sead Flandreau Ford.
Okay.
I worked 67, 68, 69, and first part of 70.
Oh, wow.
So right through this era.
Cool. That's really cool.
I thought the first thing we do is yard it out, spin the pump, get oil pressure up, then we'll go from there. Basically what I did, I took it apart, surfaced the heads, went through, checked the valves, and faced and seated them. And I put a head gasket in it. Rather than your 28 thousandths thick one, it's now got one 65 thousandths thick in it to drop the compression.
Okay.
It takes it down to 9.2 to 1 from the 10 and about 10 3/4 it had.
Okay.
So it now should, and then it's hard seated, so it'll accept unleaded fuel and should make it work better in today's world.
Okay. And you didn't have to get into the bottom end?
No, I didn't touch the bottom. It looked really good. In fact, to be honest with you could still see hone marks in the cylinders.
Okay.
So I could see no reason to go to the bottom. I mean,
okay.
It looked good. It looked like it'd been gone through.
Okay. Cool.
So what I'm thinking, so.
Yeah.
Go again. In. In. Okay, it's coming up, so let's watch. Next time it comes up on top dead, we should be in the right spot. There we go, we're there. We have no power there. Don't say we got any here either. That's not good.
So we have an issue with power coming from the ignition to the coil, so to get this thing started and tuned, we're just going to run a jumper wire from the battery to the coil for now.
The coil should have power now, right?
Yep, should have. Ooh. Yep, it did.
Yep, it does.
It definitely had power there. Yeah, there's no doubt to that one. Okay, grab a screwdriver and let's spin this rascal and see if we can make her run.
One more time.
Okay, yeah. We need power to this right here too.
To the choke,
yeah.
Okay.
That choke's gonna need 12 volts too.
Okay.
So you're gonna need to bring a wire around. I don't know.
Yeah, before
however you want it.
into the alternator.
Oh, probably had it into the stator wire on it, which will work also. Either way.
Okay. When you cut that exhaust, Thomas, how much antifreeze was in it? Huh? Was there any antifreeze in the exhaust when you cut it?
Yeah.
As you could tell, we had a little bit of residual antifreeze in the exhaust, which we now have cleared out, and we're going to take this baby on a test drive and see how she does.
Bought this car 55 years ago this month. Now I'm going to get it back on the road. Paid almost twice what I paid for it originally to keep this running.